Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, Purdue fans, for this week's Purdue Report. And this is the last time you will hear the word football in this podcast. We are moving on to basketball season.
Oh, you can't do that.
Oh, yes, I can.
There's still people out there that go and that still have some faint hope for that football team and Coach Odom.
Jake Dunn and I are joined by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call-Leader. Jake and I are going to tell you why Purdue is going to win the national championship. We're going to probably tell you that until March. So I wanted to bring on Michelle Garmon, an IU grad and an old friend of Jake's, to tell us why Purdue isn't going to win the national championship. Welcome, Jake.
Thanks for having me. Glad we can finally talk about some good Purdue sports here on the podcast.
Oh, man, that was brutal on Saturday. Welcome, Michelle.
Welcome. Hey, Jake, it's not often, Greg, that there are a lot of good things to talk about with Indiana University athletics, football, men's and women's basketball. Purdue has volleyball, but IU women's volleyball is pretty good this year, and IU men's soccer. But Purdue does definitely have the advantage when it comes to men's basketball.
For now. IU just started afresh. Who knows what's going to happen? What we know for now, Jake, is that Purdue is unanimously the number one team coming into the country. And I saw a podcast today that had, can Purdue go undefeated? And what's it going to take to beat Purdue? Two different podcasts I saw today. So there's a lot of hype out there.
I certainly don't know if I'd say that Purdue can go undefeated. I think it's definitely a hard thing to do in today's environment with college basketball, especially with,
like we said, they might be favored in every single game this year. That does not mean you're going undefeated, though.
Obviously would hope that's would be the case, but I don't think that'll be happening this year. And to beat Purdue, it's got to force turnovers. Got to beat them on the glass, which now is going to be pretty hard to do with Oscar Clough and getting Daniel Jacobson back. So that'll be hard to do, and just got to catch them on an off night where things just aren't clicking offensively.
Hey, Jake, I think my biggest concern for Purdue, and a drawback I think they could have, is maybe a little bit too much talent and not being able to keep players happy with playing time. For the first time, I think Purdue's really put out a lot of money with NIL. They got better in their NIL and with revenue sharing now. They've added to the coffers. It's going to be a little different for Painter, too, because it's been a while since he's had this much depth of talent. And
I don't
especially
think
if
he's ever had this much depth of talent.
Well, maybe with Hummel in that group, but they
didn't have the depth of talent.
But there were injuries that weakened that depth. Now, and that could happen this year. I mean, that's the one nice thing about having the depth of talent. But if everybody stays healthy, and my biggest concern is, and he's used to playing all these minutes, but I think if Purdue wants to win a national championship, I don't think Braden Smith can average almost 40 minutes a game. I think he gets worn down towards the end of the seasons. His shooting percentages go down. The best thing they can do is, I think for him, it'd be to average maybe 32 to 34 minutes a game. And I know that Matt has such great trust in Braden, and they have such a great relationship that sometimes it's kind of hard to, and Braden is so competitive, and sometimes that's so hard to take out. I do think that is an area that I think they have to look at. I don't think Braden can log as many minutes as he has the last 2 years if Purdue wants to win a national championship.
I think there's a solution to that, Jake.
I think that's kind of a big reason why they brought on Omer Meyer from Israel. He's a legit contributor. He can either play alongside Braden or definitely in his place. But also you can expect Jakari Harris and CJ Cox to take a big jump as well, which all reports from the offseason thinks that they have. So I think Braden Smith, he's a competitor. He's going to want to stay out there for all 40 minutes, but I think Matt Painter knows that he may not be able to afford, or it may be good for longevity's sake for Braden Smith to sit definitely a lot more than he did last season. I think to your point about the having too many players, you have 10, 11 guys that could really contribute at a fairly high level on this team. And you look at kind of the culture of sacrifice that's at Purdue. Mason Gillis going from a starter to, the sixth man off the bench, or even first man off the bench, sixth man, and having Trey Kaufman-Renn start a couple of years ago. That was better for the team. It probably wasn't what Mason wanted, but he realized it was better for the team, and that's the sort of sacrifice that the guys that Matt Painter recruits, that's the type of sacrifice that they're okay with, and they realize the bigger picture, which I think is definitely unique. It's definitely going to be a challenge, but I think Purdue's got the right guys on the roster to be okay with sacrifice.
You talk about that being accepting. Mason Gillis is an Indiana kid. Fletcher Lawyer is an Indiana kid. Braden Smith is an Indiana kid. Trey Kaufman-Renn is an Indiana kid. Are some of those other players that you bring in, especially portal kids, a kid from Europe that's probably looking at this to maybe even looking at this as a one and done straight into the NBA, are they going to be as accepting? That will be interesting. Matt Painter is really good at doing, at finding the fits and everything. That I'm kind of interested to see how that plays out.
The good news is, in just 2 days, we will get to see them for the first time, the Boilermakers, on the SEC Network, 6 o'clock on Friday. The Boilermakers, top ranked in the country, go to Rupp Arena to face number 9 Kentucky. And I got to tell you, Jake, this is such a cool thing that college basketball has added these exhibition games. So much better than the first time you see Purdue playing. It's against the University of Indianapolis.
It's hard to kind of get a lot out of those games against the UNDs or the Grace colleges out there. They're all good teams in their respective leagues, but it's just kind of hard for Purdue to get much out of that. So I'm glad they still have one of those games. To your point, it's a really cool thing. Really wish I'd be able to make the trip. I guess definitely a bucket list item for me to go to Rupp Arena, especially to see Purdue play. It'd be really cool.
I've seen you play at Rupp Arena. Matt Waddell, Glenn Big Dog Robinson, all those guys. I was there for the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament when they played at Rupp Arena.
That was fun. Did you feel nauseous like I did the whole time you were inside there?
Yeah, as an IU person, I was just amazed though. They talk about Rupp Arena but I was not impressed. It sits in a shopping. I mean, it's a shopping mall. It's a nice, but it doesn't have that same feel. Even Thompson Bowling Green Arena in Knoxville gives you that college basketball atmosphere because that's what it is. I think Rupp Arena, you always hear, but it didn't have the same. Once you got in it, I didn't feel like it had the same mystique as a Mackey or an Assembly Hall or Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke.
But it's historic.
Yes,
very historic. And everyone should get there to watch one game. I would say just try not to get nauseous while you're there. If you're from Indiana, it tends to happen, right, Jake?
Yeah, for sure.
And then they play UND next, and then they start the regular season November 4th against Evansville. That's still 2 full weeks away. And then Oakland, and then November 13th, Alabama, on the road in Tuscaloosa, and we're off and running. It's going to be a fun November. Memphis and Texas Tech. And going to be a fun November of college basketball. I can't wait, guys. And I said you wouldn't hear the word football again on this podcast, but I do want to let everybody know that we are going to be previewing the Rutgers game on Friday. Back to basketball. There was some basketball on Friday night, an inter-squad scrimmage. It wasn't televised, but pretty easy to follow along. Jake, what'd you learn?
Really strong performance from Jakari Harris and CJ Cox. I think we kind of already knew what to expect from TKR and Braden Smith and Fletcher Lawyer. Really, the question mark was how much of a leap those two kind of take. And Jakari Harris finished with 20 points. It was 5 of 9 from the field, 4 of 8 from 3. 4 steals and 3 rebounds. We've talked about before on
nice
podcast that he's going to really develop his body, and it's going to be a really crucial part, especially on defense for this team. And CJ Cox, kind of his counterpart, had 15 points, 6 of 10 from the field, 3 of 6 from 3. 7 rebounds and 4 steals.
Wow.
So,
Jake, I've seen some Purdue previews that haven't even mentioned those two guys.
I think they're going to be pretty important pieces, especially in terms of efficiency and not turning the ball over. You think back to some of Purdue's really good teams, like in 2019 with Carson Edwards and Ryan Klein. They were kind of stars, and the role players around them were really efficient with the basketball. Didn't really turn it over, and were able to do their job when they were called on. So Purdue's not going to reinvent the wheel. They're going to stick with Braden Smith and TKR. You just need the pieces around them to score, and especially when those like Braden Smith, for example, or TKR, whenever they go out, Purdue's offense last year would basically die. Like there wouldn't be a whole lot of scoring whenever they'd go out. But now you have these guys take a jump. Bring in Elmer Meyer. He's got almost eight starters on the team.
That's right.
You would think that these guys would be able to they would actually extend the lead whenever those guys go out. Really excited for them this year, and definitely should be in the conversation for being big parts of this team.
Well, we definitely know 3 of the starters. I think the other 2, it's a bit of a mystery. I would assume it'll be Clough and Jacobson, but I don't know. Any word on what we're expecting on Friday?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. I would assume, obviously, the big 3, as we know. I would think that either one of Jakari Harris or CJ Cox would start, and then I would think that Oscar Clough would step in there at the 5 spot. If I gun to my head, if I had to pick a starting 5 right now, it'd be Braden Smith, Fletcher Warrior, Jakari Harris, TKR, and Oscar Clough. That'd be my starting 5, and just. I think that those are probably the best 5 you could put out there. But I haven't heard yet, but excited to see the matchups and lineups that Matt Painter kind of plays with in the scrimmage or in the exhibition.
That's always the most fun thing about the first game of the year is learning kind of the rotations. Jake and I have already gone game by game, along with Mike Rich, predicting every single game the upcoming season. Of course, I had 31-0. I don't remember what they had. But Michelle is here to be our naysayer. Michelle, do you think that Purdue has the best team in the country, and do you think they will finally win the national championship?
I think right now, there's not a doubt they have the best team in the country. I'll be anxious to see again, and I think they will heading into conference play. Do I think they'll win the national championship? No. It's so hard because, especially if they do have all that success, the pressure builds and builds and builds, and it's gonna. I don't know. I just don't see it, but it could. A lot of it will all depend how other schools do and roll around in March Madness to see how the draws are, how the tournament's seeded out.
A little worried about Kelvin Sampson.
Houston's probably the biggest team that kind of gives me worries. I will say there's been almost like a curse for the preseason number 1 teams the past few years. Last year with Kansas, they were a first-round exit. They lost to Arkansas. The year before that, Kansas was also number 1 preseason team. They lost in the second round to Gonzaga. And then the year before that, 2022, 2023, UNC just flat out missed the tournament. So it's been sort of a curse there. And I think Purdue's a team that can ultimately break that curse.
The big difference between Purdue and those teams is those teams loaded up on talent in the offseason and tried to put it together. Purdue already has the core of its team, so I don't think it's quite the same kind of thing.
Yep, I agree.
So Purdue, according to CBS Sports, is the favorite at 9-1, Houston 10-1, Duke 11-1, and then UConn, Florida, and Kentucky are 17-1, Michigan and Rick Pitino's St. John's Red Storm 19-1.
Coach can't count out is Danny Hurley at UConn. He usually has something in the style that they play. I'm looking forward to college hoop season. The Boilermakers are going to be good.
You're an IU fan. You haven't thought about basketball yet.
No. Hey, I waited a long time to have a football school, and
I don't blame you one bit.
Nah.
Hey, Jake, I was the same way with the Joe Tiller Purdue era, and it's nothing like this IU thing. It's nuts.
It is nuts. It's fantastic.
It's wild. And the Colts are 6-1. Purdue basketball's number 1. The Pacers just went to the finals. The Fever had an incredible season. Let's just not say the word Purdue football again. Till Friday. Until Friday, Jake. Oof, that was rough, man. That really took a lot out of me on Saturday. I even got a text from Jake saying, man, this is, I said, I've already turned the channel, Jake.
Hey, with Brown, what's his status? I mean, we can be off the pot.
Sure. No, we're good.
So
I was jesting when I said we're not going to be talking Purdue.
What's his
football.
status? Is he hurt, or was it a combination of hurt and just not effectiveness, or what?
I heard he was doubtful for this game, so I'm assuming it's a legitimate.
Oh, he definitely got hurt during the game. I thought that Singleton actually brought some juice, and I'm not sure in the long run he's not going to be the better option because of what he does with his legs.
That's the whole thing. Purdue is just bad in the trenches. I think they have one decent defensive lineman, but they're just bad in the trenches. And that weakness gets more evident every week.
Well, it was super duper duper evident against Notre Dame. You could every play. Notre Dame won.
And Notre Dame wasn't in the trenches. We're still finding itself, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So
we learned that day, didn't we, Jake? It was every play. Purdue was going backwards at the line of scrimmage. You're not going to learn much about a team from those games when they're just mismatched at every position. I think this might be the week, Jake. We're going to talk about it more on Friday, but this is the game going into it that ESPN Analytics has given them the best chance to win at just about 49%, 48.4, I think is what the percentage was. So,
do they get a bye after this week?
So after this week against Rutgers, they play at Michigan, which they announced that this week that it's a 7:30 kickoff time. Then they they play at home against Ohio State.
Okay.
Then play at Washington. Then have a bye. Then play IU for the bucket on Black Friday.
IU has a bye that week, the week before that bucket game too. So Purdue's got to get it this week because it's a brutal end of the Big Ten season for them.
Anybody want to know what the ESPN Analytics odds of Purdue beating IU?
0.7.
4.8. So better than you thought. Jake, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on and talking some basketball and even a little bit of football, even though we said we wouldn't. we can't help ourselves. We're addicted to the Boilermakers.
Yeah. Thanks, Jake. It was great to do this with you tonight. It allows me to catch up with you every now and then, and you were always one of the favorite kids there that I've got to know at Tipton through my job.
And Jake and I will be back on Friday to talk Purdue football preview against Rutgers. Then we'll be back on Sunday morning. Then we'll be back next week with a Purdue Report, and I'm sure we'll talk more basketball and recap the Kentucky game. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media.
And Greg loves Susie.
And I love Susie.